Welcome back. Today we will be making buttermilk biscuits using butter. I have a video up making buttermilk biscuits, but in the original video I've used shortening. Today we're going to use butter, and we're going to use the shredded butter method, which I've seen on Southern Living magazine page. And I've never really been a fan of this, but I thought I'd give it another try and make a video for you all, because I understand that some people struggle with making biscuits, and this method just may make it a little bit easier for you. So in the bowl we have 2.5 cups, well actually 2.25 cups of self-rising flour. We're going to shred 1 stick of frozen butter. We're going to add that to the flour, and what you want to do is toss it with your flour very well. You want to make sure that the butter shreds are tossed in the flour and actually kind of separated, so they're kind of just throughout the flour evenly. So once you toss your flour and your butter together, you're gonna add to this about 1 cup of buttermilk. And make sure the buttermilk is cold. Unlike baking a cake, you don't want your ingredients to be room temperature with biscuits. You want them to be as cold as possible. And so you're gonna mix this until it's well incorporated. Try to make sure that all of the flour is moistened by the buttermilk. Then you're going to turn your dough out onto your board or your counter or whatever surface you're working on. Funny thing about biscuit dough is it can be sticky and dry at the same time. I think it's important to show this process of making biscuits because, as you can see, the dough is pretty shaggy looking. But that's okay, because this is the part where you get your hands dirty and you need to bring the dough together. Again, you don't want to work it too much, but it is important to gently bring this dough together, and it will come together. So just take your time, be patient, and as you can see, I'm getting it together here in a ball, and then I'm going to pat it out. I'm going to pat it out evenly to about 1.5 inch thick, because I'm making fairly large biscuits for breakfast sandwiches. My husband was getting ready for work, and I got up and I decided I was going to make him a breakfast sandwich with biscuits. And so this is my biscuit cutter, and like I said, it's a fairly large biscuit cutter. If I was making biscuits just to go on the side of breakfast, I would actually use a smaller cutter, but because I am using these biscuits for breakfast sandwiches, I use a larger cutter. And if you don't have a biscuit cutter, I suggest that you get one. Yes, you can use a jar, and yes, you can use a cup, but it's just something about an actual biscuit cutter that makes the biscuits rise a lot better. And trust me, I've tried all methods, and eventually I just had to go ahead and get a biscuit cutter. So meanwhile, my oven is preheating to about 415, and I have my cast iron skillet in the oven preheating. I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of butter to the bottom of my skillet and allow that to melt, and then add my biscuits into the skillet. I got about 5 biscuits out of this recipe. If you were to use a smaller biscuit cutter like I normally would, you'd get about 8, a good 8 to 9 biscuits out of this dough. But I only got about 5. And here I'm going to brush the tops of my biscuit with the leftover buttermilk in the bottom of my jar. I find that this helps the biscuits to brown a little bit more evenly. You could do butter, but because I already have butter in the bottom of my skillet, I like to brush the tops with buttermilk. I baked them in the oven again at 415 for about 18 minutes. And as you can see, they are nice and golden brown on the top, light and fluffy. Now here's where I will add the butter to the tops. But I really like how the buttermilk on the top help brown the biscuits. These biscuits are light, fluffy. They have the layers that people like without being dry. Please give this recipe a try.